The aim of this sixth lesson, Health and Physical Education Unit, is to teach students in Stage 3 the impact of emotions and the effect they have on their decisions, behaviours and relationships. By understanding this, students will be able to apply and implement strategies to maintain and develop healthy, respectful relationships. The unit plan utilizes a variety of pedagogical approaches such as explicit teaching through measurement of planned learning intentions and success criteria, a constructivist approach, teacher-led discussions and activities, inquiry-based learning, along with the implementation of ICT resources to further enhance development. Feedback is an essential component of both formative and summative assessment throughout the 6 lessons. 2 types of feedbacks are critical in this approach, as one offers constructive criticism to encourage students to revise, reflect, and edit their work, while the other acts as a means of providing positive reinforcement through a reward system, a concept referred to as operant conditioning. To enforce this concept within the classroom, JoJo points will be used consistently along with positive behavior for learning language when students are being on track, participating in activities, and are respectful and active learners. In 1938, socio-constructivist approaches highlighted the significance of learning and experiences in promoting diversity and inclusion, catering to the range of cultural backgrounds, learning styles, and developmental abilities and levels present within the classroom context. Dewey also placed an emphasis on the importance of utilizing group discussion and group engagement, suggesting that it cultivated conducive learning environments to increase diversity and improve literary capabilities. The lesson plan is a reflective of this socio-constructive concept as it incorporates a range of group activities such as brainstorms, class discussions, peer assessment and work, as well as scenario-based activities supplemented by worksheets. Peer assessment is also an effective approach used as it improves engagement, motivation, along with allowing students to share ideas, exchanging information, using a more knowledgeable other, and as well as yielding positive results in skill development through teamwork, cooperation, and empathy. The implementation of ICT devices is an efficient teaching strategy, as studies have highlighted improvements in students' retainment of knowledge, along with increased levels of engagement and motivation. This concept is prevalent in lesson plans as it incorporates YouTube videos along with the use of Chromebooks and iPads. In lessons 1 and 3, I've utilized the gradual release of responsibility model of instruction to create my lesson plan. The aim of this approach is to shift from intentional teaching and modeling to a shared responsibility between students and teachers, followed by an independent ability to apply the learning. Studies have shown this to be an effective approach as it embraces learner diversity, supporting a range of interests, learning abilities, and readiness. It allows the educator to implement differentiated instructions, along with shifting responsibility of learning to students who have clarity on how to confidently apply those instructions to independent learning. The context of the school is a Year 6 class, 18 students. The school is situated in Western Sydney and is a low socioeconomic public school. The class consists of students from a range of diversities, from different cultural backgrounds, varying education and developmental levels, along with English as a second language and dialect. Hence why the implementation of pedagogical approaches such as the gradual release and the constructivist are essential in this context. 3 students are on behavioural management plans due to emotional disabilities, and 4 students have a mild learning disability. Use of verbal and non-verbal reinforcement acts as a behavioural management strategy and is utilised regularly throughout the lesson through teacher instruction, PBL language, and feedback. Educators are trained and work collaboratively with occupational therapists to ensure environments conducive to learning by providing additional scaffolding and resources available through differentiation and supplementation of tasks. Differentiation is also implemented for students who need extending to ensure that content is challenging, encouraging motivation and engagement. The first lesson begins with the diagnostic assessment, which aims to assess students' current knowledge and pre-existing ideas regarding emotions, relationships, and the correlation between the two. This is achieved through observation of participation, engagement, and responses in a group discussion utilizing a word cloud or brainstorm. To reinforce this, students will be instructed to complete the first 2 columns of their KWL chart. This will provide me with an indication as to how to plan and implement future lessons, as I will be able to identify students who need differentiation of lessons and resources. This is inclusive of both children working towards as well as children who need extensions. Next, I will implement explicit teaching throughout the lesson, informing students of learning intentions and success criteria. They will achieve this through utilization of ICT resources such as the YouTube video and a formative assessment in the form of observation and review of responses on A4 whiteboards completed independently by students. A teacher-led group discussion of KWL charts will further enhance formative assessment as it allows for observation of engagement, participation, and decision-making, along with offering of verbal feedback. The self-assessment weather emotion check-in using PBL will also act as a formative assessment, measuring whether the students are able to identify a range of emotions and explore the impacts through self-reflection. Each lesson from here on will use diagnostic assessment for the introduction of the lesson to brainstorm based on the learning intention and success criteria of the lesson plan for that day. In lesson 2, students will be assessed based on their ability to identify the roles of emotions in affecting individuals and their behaviors. Students will be able to list the impacts of emotions on physical, mental, and social factors. A formative assessment, which will utilize teacher-led discussion using the image of happiness is a state of mind. This will promote and encourage discussion among students, and I will encourage students to elaborate, explain, or deduce reasoning by extending off the ideas of their peers. They will recognize that emotional responses can be unpredictable and how emotions can vary depending on context and situation. Meet Riley Emotion ICT resource acts as another formative assessment, as I will review and provide feedback on students' work as they share their independent responses in a class group discussion. Students are assessed on their ability to identify the impacts and purpose of each emotion displayed in the video. This will be followed by an independent task, encouraging students to list and identify the impacts their emotions have had on the course of their day. The introduction of a literary focus composing a text or diary entry to convey emotion will provide another means of formative assessment, as teachers can review the work and provide feedback in the workbook. Lesson 3, how do our emotions impact our relationships? Formative assessment will be achieved through the teacher's observation of students' participation, engagement, and responses. The use of hand signals from students to indicate level of comprehension of tasks will offer as a means of assessment through self-reflection and provide an indication to teachers for use of effective planning and implementation of future lessons. I will implement modeling to guide students through the scenario task and will observe and assess how well students are able to replicate this in their group work. Students will create subheadings to explain 4 types of emotions and the impacts on relationships. I will walk around the room in a figure 8 motion to monitor and assess work briefly, ensuring students are on track. This will also provide an opportunity for me to address any discrepancies on the spot, provide further scaffolding, which ultimately acts as catering to diversity of learning abilities. Students will work with peers, and this will act as a means of peer assessment, allowing students to assess each other's responses and discuss any similarities or differences, which will then be shared and emphasized through class discussion. The use of hand signals such as thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs to the side to indicate competency levels, along with observation of ability to work collaboratively to explain the impact of emotions on relationships, are examples of formative assessment utilized throughout the lesson. Lesson 4, how can we alter the way we handle a situation using different emotions to enhance outcomes or promote positive relationships? Formative assessment includes teacher observing student interaction while discussing scenario and assessing whether they have achieved the learning intention or criteria of the lesson. I will assess students' ability to apply the decision-making scaffold process to scenarios provided, which will then be completed using a template worksheet by group. I'll be assessing whether groups have met the current outcome, examine the influence of emotional responses on behavior and relationships. This will be achieved through formative assessment in the means of observation, worksheet answers, and offering written feedback. Lesson 5, what a healthy and positive relationship is. I will move around the room in a figure 8 direction, completing a quick formative assessment of students' work as they create a timeline identifying the length of different friendships. I will ensure that they're implementing the basic features of a timeline, which is assumed to be prior knowledge learned in numeracy lessons. I will assess students' ability to think critically about the factors which have played a role in friendship ending. Group discussion will allow me to observe active or inactive participation, engagement, and responses, so I can use other strategies such as cold calling of names or names on a stick from a jar to promote diversity and ensure a range of students are answering. This will allow for a more holistic class observation, allow me to prioritize scaffolding and instructions to students that need it. Pair work and assessment will encourage students to work in pair and assess each other's ideas respectfully, identifying and describing the characteristics of positive relationships in their personal life. They will also complete a worksheet which will act as a formative assessment and allow me to identify strengths and areas for improvement. I will utilize on-the-spot feedback and ensure students are prepared for the upcoming test in lesson 6 by offering a recap of the lessons. The replication of the poster will also act as an assessment, highlighting students' ability to recreate and follow instruction through explicit instructional teaching. Class discussion of the YouTube video will also act as a formative assessment. In lesson 6, summative assessment will be implemented by students completing a short answer quiz along with a case study answering lessons covered in 1 to 5. Students will also have completed the final column of their KWL chart, which will be provided to the teacher for inclusion of final assessment marks. Summative assessment marks will be interpreted and analysed and determine whether future lessons will need to be allocated for the unit. Class results will be collated to determine if it is a class or individual discrepancy. And then students who are working towards will be provided with additional resources and tasks to further scaffold if it is an individual discrepancy. Overall, lessons will collectively develop the child's ability to identify and explore a range of emotions and the impact on behaviours, decisions, and relationships. The range of strategies implemented cater to diversity, promote inclusion, and use assessment efficiently to scaffold, plan, and implement effectively based on classroom context, along with provide recognition for success. Thank you.